guys, and welcome to this YouTube channel. My name's Megan and today we're going to be doing a beginner friendly octopus. So you're going to learn how to make these guys. This is a pattern that I've wrote and I wanted to share with you guys. So this is, as I said, beginner friendly, and as long as you know the basics to crochet you should be absolutely fine. You need to know how to make a magic ring, how to do single crochet and double crochets, how to increase and decrease, and how to work in front and back loops. And then you'll end up with something looking like this. Now I'm doing this in two colours today, like this one, just because there is a part in this pattern that's just a little bit trickier and I want you to be able to see it easier, but you can use any colours and any yarn you like. So the equipment that you're going to need is a crochet hook. Now I'm using a 5mm hook, but again, depending on the yarn you use, this depends on the size of your hook. You will need a stitch marker, you will need a darning needle, you will need 12mm eyes and some stuffing, and of course you'll need some scissors, there's the stuffing again, and we'll need some yarn of your choice. Okay, so let's get into it. First thing we need to do is make a magic ring. Now you can do this any way you prefer. Some people prefer using the 2-chain method. I just prefer doing it this way, and this is how my start of my magic ring looks like here. You're then going to do 6 single crochets into that magic ring. You go ahead and start doing that now. Around the 4th single crochet, I like to just pull the yarn a little bit to bring the tail a bit closer, to try and help when it comes to closing the ring for it not to snap. So we've done 4, 5 and 6, and then pull that to a close. When pulling this, you don't want to pull it too tight because it can snap, but you do want to make sure that you don't have a hole in between that work, if you can kind of see. And that is the first part done. Now we're going to do for the second round an increase into each of these stitches. So that is where you go into your stitch and put 2 single crochets into each, and by the time you get to the end of that round you'll have 12 stitches. So go ahead and do that now. That's 1 and that's 2 into that first stitch. Now I like to put my stitch marker here in that first stitch I did because that's the beginning of my round, and that's how I like to keep a track of it. I recommend you do the same, and then continue increasing all the way around. Once you've got to that last stitch, which is before your stitch marker, you should have 12 single crochets. So let's just count to make sure we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 and 12 is that stitch marker. So that is our second round complete. The next round we are going to do 1 single crochet followed by an increase. So I take my stitch marker out, go ahead and put that 1 single crochet in and put my stitch marker back in, and then I do my increase, and you are going to do that all the way around to the end of that stitch marker. So 1 single crochet, increase. We will do that 6 times, and by the time we get to the end of this round we should have 18 stitches. Go ahead and let's be at the end. Okay, I'm coming up to that end of that round, so I've got my 1 single crochet followed by my increase, which is just before my stitch marker. That's now my increase, and I should have 18 stitches at the end of this round. So let's count and double check we have 15, 16, 17, 18, perfect. So I've got 18 stitches now. So for round 4, we are going to do 2 single crochets followed by an increase, and we're going to do that all the way around to our last stitch before our marker. So take your stitch marker out, do your next single crochet, and then pop your stitch marker back in, and then we do another single crochet followed by an increase. Okay, so if you continue to do that all the way around, by the end of this round you should have 24 stitches. So let's go. So 1, 2 single crochets and then an increase, and follow that around until the end. Okay, so I'm coming to them last few stitches at this end of my round. So I've got 1 single crochet, got 2 single crochet, and then I've got my increase, and I should have 24 stitches. So go ahead and count how many stitches you've got to make sure that you have got 24 like me. To read 24. So I've got 24 stitches there. So we are so far on the right track, which is super. For round 3, we are going to do 3 single crochets followed by an increase. So again, just take that stitch marker out and go into your first stitch. That's your first one. Pop your stitch marker back in, and then go crochet number 2, single crochet number 2, and single crochet number 3, followed by an increase. So again, we are doing 1, 2, 3 single crochets followed by an increase all the way around to this last stitch. And when we get there, we should have 30 single crochets on our round. So we can check that at the end. Okay, so I'm coming up to the last few stitches on this round. So I've got 1 single crochet, 2 single crochet, 3 single crochet, and then my last stitch is an increase. Perfect. So I should now have, like you should have, 30 single crochets around. So let's count them. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 30. Cool. Okay, so we've got 30 stitches. Now we're going to move on to round 6, which is 4 single crochet and an increase. This is the last round of increases we are going to do. So just like we've been doing, just take your stitch marker out, pop a single crochet in, and pop your stitch marker back in. And then continue to do the pattern. So we've got second crochet, third crochet, fourth single crochet, and then an increase. Okay, so you are just going to continue that pattern around to the last stitch, and when we get there we should have 36 stitches altogether. There is an eye here that is so desperate to come into the camera. Okay, so carry on and I will meet you at the end. We're doing 4 single crochets followed by an increase. Okay, so we're coming up to those last stitches on this round. So it's 4 single crochets, 1, 2, 3, and 4, followed by our increase, which should leave us with 36 crochets. So count back, make sure we've got 36 before we move on to our next round. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, so I've got 36 stitches and hopefully you have too. So for rounds 7 till 10, so that's 4 rounds, we are going to do single crochets around. So you are just going to single crochet all the way around 4 times. So I'm going to do the rest of these off camera, and then when we get back I will meet you just before the end of that 4th round. So do the first few together and then we'll carry on. So that first one, and just single crochet all the way around. Okay, so this is how it should be looking now. You can see the shape is starting to take form. So our next round, which is round 11, is going to be doing 4 single crochets followed by a decrease. So to do this, we're just simply going to do 4 single crochets like normal. So 1, pop your stitch marker back in. 2, 3, and 4. And then I'm going to do an invisible decrease, but again, your decrease is how you want to do them. So if you're going to do an invisible decrease, you go into your loops. So see how we've got 2 loops now? Normally we go right through it. But for an invisible decrease, we're going to go in the middle of that loop, yarn over and pull down, so you've got 2 loops on your hook, and then go into the next loop in the middle, yarn over and pull down, so you've got 3 on your hook. You're then going to yarn over and pull through all 3, and that is an invisible decrease. So again, we're going to do 4 single crochets, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then we're going to do a decrease. So just for you to see one more time, we go in, yarn over and pull through 1 loop, so we've got 2 on a hook. We then go in the middle of the next one, yarn over and pull through, so you've got 3 loops on your hook, and pull through all 3, and that is how you do your decreases. So continue to do that pattern all the way around, 4 single crochets followed by a decrease. Okay, at the end of that round, you should have finished on a decrease and you should have 30 crochets. So let's count round and make sure that we have 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Okay, yes, so I've got 30 and hopefully you have too. And next we're going to do for round 12, we are now going to work in our front loops only. Now I'm just going to quickly go back one because I want to change the colour so you can see this clearly. So let's go back where I did my last decrease. And I'm just going to quickly decrease again, but I'm just going to do a colour change just so you guys can see this better. my goodness, that did not go well, did it? Okay, let's pop these back in. Over. Okay. And then I'm just going to tie this here so that I can connect my colour change. Cut off the excess yarn. So this part here, and we'll cut off the pink because we don't want this part anymore. So you don't have to colour change, but I just wanted to do this so that you could see this more clearly, what we're going to do. So we're going to work in the front loop. Now if you can see here, I'll take this away, we work through both there, but we are just going to be working in that front loop. So you go in the middle and into this front loop. Now what I would advise doing is getting another crochet, getting another stitch marker and popping it in that back loop, because we will be coming to that back loop after. There, leave that there. Now we're working in this front loop. We are going to be doing 4, and see my fingers there, 4 double crochets followed by a single crochet. So let's do this together. And to do a double crochet, you wrap around, go into that front part of your loop, yarn over and pull through 3. You then yarn over, pull through 2, and you should have 2 hooks on your 2 loops on your hook. You then yarn over and pull through them 2, and that is your first double crochet. We are then going to work into that same part, that same stitch, 3 more times doing a double crochet. So yarn over, in again, pull through 3, and then pull through 2 loops, and then pull through 2 loops. And that is your second half double crochet. Go ahead and do it again. And that's your third, and then 1 more time, yarn over, pull through 3, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through the final 2. That is 4 double crochets in 1 stitch. For the next stitch in the front loop still, you are just going to do a single crochet. And we are going to continue to do that pattern all the way around. So we'll do this one again together, and then the rest I will do off camera, and I will meet you at the end. So you're going to yarn over once, go through the middle. Just before you do, actually grab another stitch marker and pop it where you've put that first double crochet, so you know where the end is at the front. So yarn over, go through the middle of that stitch, pull through 3, so you've got 3 on your loop, hook, pull through 2, you've got 2 loops on your hook, and then pull through 2. That's our first double crochet. Then yarn over, go into that same stitch, pull up 3, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. That's your second double crochet. Yarn over, go through that same stitch, pull 3 loops up, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. That's your third. Let's go for the fourth. Just the same again. And then into that next stitch is just a single crochet in the front loop. Okay, so I'm going to do the rest of these off camera, and I will meet you when we get to the end here. And that one should be a single crochet to finish. So meet me back here in a moment. End of this round, and it'll be 4 double crochets, single crochet, 4 double crochets, single double crochet, and we are finished. So let's just get this last part done. Remember, you are working in that front loop only. So I've got 2 stitches left. You can see this one's going to be our 4 double crochets, this one's our single crochet to finish. then a single crochet there to finish. We are back at the beginning. So this is how it should be looking. Got the nice frill going right round. So the next round is probably the trickiest round of them all. We are going to be working in the back loop only. So the reason why I told you to put this stitch marker in the back of your loop is because you can see here, we are working in all of those ones. So they're the ones, can you see? It's a bit difficult to see on camera, but this is why I did change the colour. We're working in these ones here. And it's going to be 3 single crochets followed by a decrease, and you should end with 24. Now when you get to this part here near the end, this should end on a decrease, but it can be quite tricky to see, so do your best and just try and end with the 24. So let's do a few together. So I'm just going to remove this stitch marker now because I don't need it. That was just to see where we were coming back to. Get a bit of, move this yarn out of the way. Right, so easy to kind of fold your work a little bit so you can see, but I can see my first stitch is going to be 1, 2 and 3. So I'm just going to take that stitch marker out, go into that one, so that's 1 single crochet, my stitch marker back in, 2 single crochet, 3 single crochets there, and then it's a decrease. So you can see I'm going here, 1 and into the next one, 2 for my decrease. And you're going to follow that all the way around. Do your best, because honestly it's a little bit tricky the first few times you do this, but once you get the hang of it, it does become easier, and once you sort of see where your stitches are, you do get it. So just do your best for now. On my decrease now. So remember, it's 3 single crochets followed by a decrease. That's 1, 2 and 3. Followed by a decrease. 2. And just keep working around the best you can. That's 1, 2, 3, and then decrease. Almost there. As I said, this is probably the hardest part of the entire pattern, but just keep working. 1, 2 and 3, and then this should be the decrease part, which can be quite tricky to see. That's 1 and 2. So you should finish with 24 stitches, and just count back to see if you have. 2, 3, 24. Perfect. So I've got 24. As I said, if this is your first attempt at crocheting and this didn't go perfectly well, don't worry about it. It is quite a tricky one to see them stitches at first, but once you do keep practicing and getting the hang of it, you will see those stitches a lot better. But this is how we should be looking from the bottom. And then next we are going to do 2 single crochets followed by a decrease, which will get us down to 18 stitches. Now we're working just normally now, not any front loops, not any back loops, just normal stitches. So this is round 14, 2 single crochets followed by a decrease. So that's my first single crochet, And I'm going to pop my stitch marker in. And then followed by the next single crochet, decrease. And if you keep working round, I will meet you at the end in a moment. Coming to the end of this round, so that's 1, 2, and you should finish on a decrease. That's it. So you should have 18 left. So let's just count them to make sure that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Perfect. So this point, we're just going to pull our yarn out just slightly, just to leave a little bit of loop so we don't lose that tail. We are now going to add our eyes, our safety eyes, and we're going to start stuffing. So you don't want to put the safety eyes at the back, and you can tell the back because we've got that little part there. So we're going to the front. Now I normally put my eyes on round 8 and about 7 stitches apart. So let's go and find them eyes that were so desperate to be in the camera before. Okay, so our safety eyes in the back. So find around row 8, but again, you can look at your own work and see where you want it to go and put it wherever you feel like it looks best. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this is where I'm going to put mine, between row 8 and 9. And then I'm going to go 7 stitches across. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I'm thinking about there. So I'm happy with my placement of my eyes. So what I then do is just flip it so I can see these here and just clip on the washers at the back like so, and make sure they are on and secure. Okay, so as you can see, they are on and they're secure. And now I'm just going to get my stuffing and start stuffing. So you want this to be firm, but not so firm that you can't continue to sew. Well, sorry, to crochet, not sew. Because you can continue to add stuffing the further around we get. And you can squish your little octopus to get it into the kind of shape you want it to be. Let's add a little bit more. And once you're happy with how much stuffing you've got in, we will then move on to the next round. Okay, so yeah, I'm happy with how he looks or she looks at the moment. Let's move on to the next round. So the next round is round 15, and it's going to be 1 single crochet followed by a decrease, and we are almost at the end of creating this plushie. So our hook back in. Look at all the yarn that gets everywhere when you're using Chanel. Okay, so we're going to do 1 single crochet followed by a decrease, and that will take us down to 12 stitches at the end. So we go 1 single crochet, pop your stitch marker back in, and then a decrease. Oh, 1, 2, and then just continue that pattern all the way to the end. and we're nearly at the end now. So we've got 1 single crochet and we should be finishing with our decrease. And that should take us down to 12 single crochets. So let's do a little count, check we've got 12, because the last round, which is round 16, we are just going to be doing decreases right round. So let's see if we have what we need. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Perfect. You can add a little bit more stuff in at this point if you want to. I normally add on a little bit more now and then a little bit before we close up. Get a little bit more out of my bag. I really need to get some more because I haven't got much left. Okay, so for the next and final round, we are simply just going to be decreasing around and we will be left with 6 crochets at the end. So I'm going to take out your stitch marker, do a decrease, and this is going to be our first decrease, like so. Pop that stitch marker back in. We like to keep track of where we are. That was really Northern, I've just said that so Northern. Okay, and then the next one is our second decrease. Third decrease. Fourth decrease. Fifth decrease. And then finally the last decrease of this round. Can be sometimes quite fiddly, but we're there. And that is our 6th decrease. And pull through. Okay, so at this point you want to pull through and cut your yarn. So you want to leave a little bit of a tail. So about here, move this out the way and then pull it through. I normally just take my hook out at this point and pull it through like this. So I've got a tail, as you can see. Where is my camera? Okay, so I've got my tail. Now I'm just going to move these out the way for a moment and I'm going to take my stitch marker out and this is where I'm going to get my darning needle. Now what we're going to do now is just go in the front loop of each of these just to close up. Now if you want to add any more stuffing into this you can. I'm not going to because I'm happy with how it is looking. So I'm just going to get my yarn on my needle. Also someone showed me once that if you do this and wrap it around like that and pull it off, it is easier to get it into that loop. Okay, so we're going into that front loop only of the first stitch. And then to the next one, you'll do this 6 times. 3, 4, 5, last one. Oh, don't get all tangled. Sometimes this happens and it is a nightmare. Okay, hang on guys. There we are. 5. It's a bad side really sometimes to having a really long tail. And 6. Okay, so you've went round 6 times and now you're going to just pull it down. Okay, I think I must have just messed up slightly because my tail got all tangled, but you can pull it down and close that loop. And then once you've closed it, you're just going to weave in and come out at the other end and do that a few times just to secure it and close it. Like so. And that's that. So if you then just snip this at the end, get your darning needle and push in any bits, and that is your octopus completed. Now you can add obviously some embroidery for a smile if you wanted to, but other than that, congratulations on completing your little octopus. So that's it for today guys, and as I say, feel free to sell your patterns. This is my own pattern I've written, so if you want to sell your octopus once making it, feel free. And don't forget to tag me. I am at Megan Pre Crochets on TikTok, And yeah, I hope it all went well for you. This is my first ever recording, so I hope it wasn't too bad. And please subscribe, and yeah, we will go and do some more tutorials soon. Thanks guys, bye.